Today, we are going to tear down one of the biggest, most persistent myths in business, the idea that the quickest path to more sales is a lower price. Because the actual science of how we buy things, well, it tells a completely different and, frankly, a much more interesting story.
So, what if that gut instinct you have to offer a discount, to slash your prices just to get an edge on a competitor? What if that isn't just hurting your profits? What if it's actively teaching your customers to see you as cheap? And in doing that, you're not just losing a little money on a sale, you're losing the entire battle for their trust and respect.
And that brings us right into our first section, the price deception. We're going to look at why we're all so convinced that a low price is some kind of magic wand for sales, and why that entire belief is really built on a psychological house of cards.
I mean, the logic seems so simple, right? Make it cheaper, more people will buy it. It's the whole foundation of Black Friday and clearance sales. But that way of thinking treats your customers like they're just walking calculators, constantly scanning for the lowest number. But that's not how people work. That's not how you work. Our decisions are messy, they're emotional, and they're almost never purely rational.
So to really get to the truth here, we have to stop looking at spreadsheets and start looking at psychology. Because the real story of why someone chooses to buy something isn't found on a price tag. It's written in the weird, fascinating, and often irrational wiring of the human brain.
So let's start right there, inside the mind. To understand how we feel about price, you first have to understand the two very different systems inside our heads that are constantly fighting for control every single time we even think about making a purchase.
The brilliant Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman gave us this fantastic way to think about it. He suggests it's helpful to imagine our mind has two characters running the show. He calls them simply System 1 and System 2. Think of them as the two stars of your own internal movie, and they're always vying for the lead role.
So, System 1, that's your gut. It's fast, it's automatic, it's effortless. It's the part of you that knows 2 plus 2 is 4 without thinking, or finishes the phrase salt and pepper. Then you have System 2. That's your conscious analytical mind. It's the one you have to wake up to solve a tricky math problem or to parallel park. We all like to think we're our thoughtful System 2, but Kahneman's big point is that the impulsive, automatic System 1 is the real hero of the story. It's secretly making most of our decisions for us.
Let's actually try a quick test. Look at this image. First, just go down the list and say if the word is in uppercase or lowercase. Simple, right? Okay, now do it again, but this time, say if the word is positioned to the left or to the right. You feel that, don't you? That little bit of friction, that struggle? That's your automatic System 1, which just wants to read the words left and right, fighting with your deliberate System 2, which is trying to follow the rule. That feeling of strain, that's what mental effort feels like. That's your lazy System 2 being forced to get off the couch.
Okay, here's another great one. And don't try to solve it logically, just listen to the very first answer that pops into your head. A bat and a ball cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. So, how much does the ball cost?
I bet a number just jumped right into your brain. 10 cents. It feels right, it's quick, intuitive, and it's totally wrong. See, if the ball was 10 cents, the bat would be $1.10, and the total would be $1.20. The correct answer is 5 cents. The ball is 5 cents, the bat is $1.05, and together, they're $1.10. Your fast, impulsive System 1 served up an easy answer, and your lazy System 2 just went along with it. This is the exact same mental process that's running when you're deciding what to buy.
Okay, so if our brains are run by this fast, intuitive, and kind of lazy system, how on earth does that affect how we see prices? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where we see specific glitches in our thinking that can be used to completely change our sense of value. We're going to look at two of the biggest, the anchor and the decoy.
See, as researcher Dan Ariely brilliantly points out, we humans don't really have an internal value meter. We don't just know what a new laptop or a bottle of wine is supposed to be worth. So what do? We look for clues. We compare things. We use shortcuts to figure it all out. And those shortcuts, well, they can be manipulated. The first and maybe most powerful shortcut is something called the anchoring bias. This is our brain's weird tendency to latch onto the very first piece of information we see and use it as a reference point for everything that follows. When a salesperson first shows you a $10,000 watch, that number becomes an anchor, suddenly making the $2,000 watch seem reasonable. That first number sticks in your head, whether it's relevant or not. To see just how powerful this is, check out this study that Kahneman talks about. Researchers took a group of professional real estate agents, gave them all the info on a house, and asked them to estimate what it was worth. The only catch?
Half the agents were shown a high asking price in the packet of info, and the other half were shown a much, much lower one.
So did this totally random number influence these experts? Oh, you bet it did. The agents who saw the higher anchor price valued the house way higher than the ones who saw the lower anchor. How much higher? A whopping 41% higher. And here's the best part. When they were asked about it later, the agents swore they ignored the asking price completely. Their professional expertise would never be swayed by something like that. But the data doesn't lie. That anchor dragged their expert opinion right along with it.
So anchoring shows how one single number can totally warp our idea of value. But that's not the only trick in the book. There's another one that's just as sneaky because it plays on our need to compare things. It's called the decoy effect.
Dan Ariely discovered this when he was looking at a subscription ad for The Economist magazine. You see three options: an internet-only subscription for $59, a print-only subscription for $125, and a print and web subscription also for $125. Now just look at that for a second. That middle option, the print-only for $125, it looks like a mistake, right? Who in their right mind would ever pick that when you could get print and web for the exact same price? It seems totally useless, but it's not useless. It's a decoy.
So Ariely ran an experiment. When he showed people all three options, including the useless decoy, a huge 84% chose the most expensive combo deal. But then he took the decoy away and only offered the $59 web version and the $125 combo. And the results completely flipped. Suddenly, 68% of people chose the cheaper option. That decoy wasn't there to be chosen. It was only there to make the expensive option look like an unbelievably good deal in comparison. It's completely irrational, and it works.
So we know our brains can be anchored, we know they can be tricked by decoys, but the power of price goes even deeper than that. It doesn't just change how we perceive value. In some crazy ways, it can change the actual experience we have with a product.
Think about this other wild experiment from Dan Ariely. He got a bunch of students and had them buy a Sobe energy drink that claimed to make them sharper. Half the students paid the full price for it. The other half bought the exact same drink from the same fridge, but they got it at a big discount. Then he had both groups try to solve a bunch of puzzles. So this sets up this fascinating question. Can the price you pay for something actually change how effective it is? Logically, the answer has to be no, right? It's the same ingredients in the can. But our brains, as we've already seen, don't always play by the rules of logic.
And the results were just incredible. The students who paid full price for the drink solved way more puzzles than the students who got it on discount. The higher price created a higher expectation. They thought, this is expensive, so it must be good, and that belief actually became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their belief, which was triggered only by the price, physically made them perform better.
Just let that sink in for a second. The discount didn't just suggest that the product was less valuable, it made the product less effective. It created a real, tangible, lower quality experience for the person using it. This is the placebo effect of price, and it's probably the most powerful reason why competing on being the cheapest is such a dangerous game.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time inside the customer's head, looking at all this internal psychology. Now, let's zoom out and see how this stuff plays out in the real world of business strategy. This brings us to the game-changing idea of positioning, from Al Ries and Jack Trout. This single quote is everything. Positioning isn't about your product's features, it's not about its benefits, it's about the little piece of real estate you own inside your customer's brain. It's about owning one single idea in their mind. See, to handle the insane amount of information we see every day, our minds simplify. We build these little mental ladders for every single product category. So for rental cars, for most people, that ladder looks something like this. Hertz is on the top rung, they're number one. Avis is on the second rung, the one that tries harder, and maybe National is on the third. Everything else is just a blur. The real goal of marketing isn't just to have the best product, it's to climb as high as you can on that ladder in the customer's mind.
So how do you tell your customer which rung you belong on? Before they see your ads, before they hear your sales pitch, before anything else, you tell them with your price. Your price is the fastest, most direct signal of where you think you belong on that ladder.
Rice and Trout say you can actually choose your position. There's a high-price spot or Crano. Think of Michelob being the first premium American beer, or Joy Perfume advertising itself as the costliest perfume in the world. A high price screams quality and confidence. But the low price position, that establishes just one thing: cheapness. And as they put it,
This is a trap.
So why is it a trap? Because once your brand owns that cheap space in your customer's mind, it is almost impossible to climb up the ladder. It's like being typecast as an actor. Anytime you try to introduce a better, more expensive product, people just don't believe you. You've taught the market that your only value is your low price, and breaking out of that box is a long, expensive, and usually a losing battle.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. We've looked at the psychology inside our heads and the strategy out in the marketplace. So what does it all mean for you, for anyone trying to sell anything?
The single biggest mistake we make is treating price like it's just a lever you pull for a quick boost in sales. It's so much more important than that. Every time you offer a discount, every sale you run, you're sending a message.
Your price is the very first and most powerful piece of marketing you will ever have. It signals how confident you are in what you do. It anchors how your customer perceives your quality. And as we just saw, it can literally change the experience they have with your product.
So this is the bottom line. When your default move is to lower your price, you're telling the entire world a story about your brand. You're basically admitting that you don't have any other way to compete. You're admitting that the only card you have to play is being the cheapest one out there. And that is a really dangerous story to tell.
So it's time to stop asking, how low can I go to make this sale? The real question, the one that will define your business, is the one we want to leave you with. Take a hard look at what you sell and what you charge for it, and ask yourself honestly, what message is my price sending right now?